This is a story of Camille Dotson. She grew up in Chicago, and she came from an upper middle class family. She was so super talented. She was a straight A student and a natural beauty. Camille loved both school and athletics. She took up ballet at 9 years old. She was also a semi-pro ice skater. At the age of 21, she became extremely captivated by the news reports of a guy named Gary Dotson. He was an infamous convicted rapist. His accuser withdrew her story. Can you believe that? She withdrew her story and admitted that Gary was innocent. Camille was so solid during his hearing and during his briefing. She was there for him through the entire process. And when he was released, they started dating. Camille felt like this was such a fairy tale. They got married in 1985. And the big news was they were featured on Good Morning America.
Last May, Gary Dotson, who was granted clemency, and he was made a free man. It happened after Kathleen Crowell-Webb, the woman he was convicted of raping, said that her charges against him were lies. Since then, Gary Dotson has failed in his attempt to get a new trial to clear his name, but he is trying to rebuild his life and is engaged to be married to Camille, and now I'm going to botch up this pronunciation. I know Dardanes,
right?
Correct? Thank you. Whom he met, by the way, at his own clemency hearing last spring. Good morning, Camille, and Gary, nice to see you, and congratulations, Steve. You just met at the hearing. What about potential doubt in your mind, given the public nature of all of this and what the law has decided to do and not to do and so forth? What doubts, if any, in your mind, Camille?
I've never had any doubts. After I met Gary, there was never any doubt. Once you get to know him, there was no way I could ever think anything happened.
The false accuser of Gary wrote a book and gave all of the proceeds to Gary so that he could have some type of financial life. Gary and Camille had their first and only child, Ashley. Camille was just living a dream, and she just was so happy for everything that has transpired thus far. The worst came for Gary quickly because he spent all of the money that he had made or that was given to him. He began to drink more. He began to smoke more. He became so violent towards Camille. He had also racked up so many DUIs and got involved in so many fights. Camille finally had enough and fought for legal separation. Camille and Ashley moved to Vegas so that she can be as far away from Gary as she could. It was such a tough time for her. She struggled to make ends meet. Obviously, she didn't have any higher education, and with very little job experience, she started to dance at various local strip clubs. The main club that she worked at was the Crazy Horse, which was owned by a mobster named Jack. Camille started using marijuana and cocaine. She fell in love with a man by the name of George. The two of them got married. Camille even got Cruz on her leg. She got a tattoo. The marriage was not positive. No one thought that this was a good situation for either one of them. Camille became very dependent on cocaine. Her mother, Barbara, came and got Ashley and moved her back to Chicago. Ashley and Barbara would never see Camille again. Things kept getting worse for Camille. She just started doing more drugs. She started getting more arrests. She started getting more warrants. Her teeth started to become icky. Like that little yellow tint, mainly because she was doing so many drugs. Camille became very paranoid and was fearful. She told her friends that she was being followed and that she was very afraid of someone, but unfortunately she never gave any details. The last place where they could put Camille was leaving the police station after being arrested in 1994. Camille's mother, Barbara, after moving Ashley back to Chicago, and they hadn't heard from Camille in a couple months, they put out a missing persons report. Barbara was forced into doing the searches for herself. She walked from club to club just trying to find out more information, to find out what happened. She hanged posters, but unfortunately, nobody could find her. She called the police station just to see if there was any updates, and they had did no investigations on Camille. And it was crazy because though Barbara had put out a report saying that Camille was missing, it has mysteriously disappeared and been deleted by someone at that police station. Just weeks after Barbara had filed it. Looks like, or it seems like it's a little bit of a cover-up, huh? The disappearance is very, very strange. It doesn't make much sense. The thing is that a lot of Camille's co-workers and friends at the club said that it was one officer named William Brooks that frequently was at these clubs. And he was the one that was giving cocaine to a lot of the strippers to be able to get what he want and do what he want with all of them. Unfortunately, Camille still has not been found. There have been numerous unidentified bodies that have been found or disappeared, but none of them have been Camille's. The DNA of Ashley is how they are able to check to see if any of these bodies are Camille. Camille never got a divorce from her second husband, but she did have a boyfriend before she disappeared, and they lived together. It's very interesting that this man was not known by family and by very few friends, but she trusted him, and he was from Colombia. So a lot of speculation is that that man took Camille back to Colombia because his whereabouts are not very accurate either. To know if she is alive in a foreign country, it could be possible, but there is no actual proof. They tried to convict her latest boyfriend, Francisco, before he went missing, but he had no type of battery charges. He had absolutely no arrests. So they really didn't have much to go on. A lot of people believe that Camille was murdered by him or by a biker gang called the One Percenters. And they believe that they buried her in the desert. It is also very possible that it was just a random attack on her due to her high-risk lifestyle. And, the people close to Camille claim that she talked a lot about being approached by the police to be a confidential informant against the mob-related owners of the Crazy Horse that she worked for. Perhaps the mobsters found out of the community information and thought that she had went to the police and decided we're going to silence her. She had numerous phone calls. She did have an FBI number in her phone. So, anything could be possible. But I guess what's so hard for Ashley, Camille's daughter, is that she just wants closure. Obviously, she feels like after all this time, it's going to be very difficult to find her mother, but she just wants to have closure, to know what happened, where she was, and to be able to put her body to rest. She refuses to give up. She continues to search. Her search party gets bigger and bigger.
Ashley.
This is 30 years old now, and these people are dying.
It's the not knowing that has haunted her life. One way or another, her only goal is to find Camille.
I'm grateful for the little platform that I have, but I don't think the world, the U.S., whoever, I don't think they know just the whole grasp of how many people are just missing.
The exposure of this story is absolutely insane. Because Camille was the picture-perfect person in her younger years. She was the straight-A student. She was a great student and an athlete. She fell in love with a man that she knew was innocent. Started a life and thought that would be it. And then it took a worse turn. If you would like to try to help with finding Camille, there is a Facebook page that I will link below. A few details to be able to see if you can add to any details to be able to help with her to be found. The last known physical attributes of Camille are brown hazel eyes. She stood about 5'7". At that particular time, she was between 125 and 145 pounds. Her teeth were slightly discolored. Her nose had been broken multiple times. She smoked cigarettes, and she often used the name Nicole Murray or Kim. She used the last name as Diaz. For now, she has been missing for over 3 decades.